If God didn't exist, then Adolf Hitler, Mother Teresa, and you would all be exactly the same. Absolutely nothing. Welcome to The Hole in the Sky, where we focus on realities that atheists have overlooked. Today we're talking about morality, the third of the big 7 supernatural phenomena that we all exhibit every day. Morality is the system of judgments that we apply to human behavior. It's the notion that some actions are virtuous while other actions are wrong. By wrong, I don't mean incorrect, like making a mistake or getting the wrong answer to a math problem. Wrong in morality means doing something bad, harmful, or evil. It's anything we do that works against God's ultimate hopes for us. Morality, at its heart, is the choosing of benefit over appetite, others over self. It's a recognition that our indulgent first desires as humans are often more harmful than our self-denial and self-restraint. As we've seen in prior videos, free will requires supernature. Significance and meaning require eternity. But morality requires God, for it depends on unchanging standards of right and wrong and better and worse, objective valuations that don't exist in physics or our own personal preferences. If right and wrong are valid, they must originate from God. That means that banishing God would also take away any meaningful definitions of right and wrong along with him. This leaves us with a result that's impossible for most of us to accept emotionally. Imagine the most despicable person you can think of. This might be a historical figure or someone from your own personal experience. Visualize that person in your mind and notice the emotions that he or she provokes in you. Under atheism, you would be absolutely no better than that person, and he or she would be no worse than you. This is because atheism would destroy any moral framework that we might use to find ourselves superior. This would demote your judgment of that person from a correct and appropriate condemnation of evil to a mere personal prejudice. Take a moment to feel the full impact of this. If atheism were true, you would be no better than the most destructive, evil person in the history of the world. And this equivalence would hold true for everyone who has ever lived. Without a valid moral code to differentiate between them, your mother, a newborn baby, and you are all morally the same as Adolf Hitler. This is a logical consequence of atheism because by ourselves we cannot define right and wrong in an objective, unchanging way. However, even though it's logically inescapable, no atheist behaves as if it's actually true. In claiming to have abolished the supreme boss, atheism whispers of a deliverance from all morality and from anyone who would tell us how we must live. It promises freedom from God's moral shackles and grants unlimited permission to do whatever we want. But it's impossible to authentically live as though morality isn't real. Everyone believes there's a right way, or at least a wrong way, to live. Each of us, from the Pope to the most depraved criminal, has opinions about the way people should and shouldn't conduct their lives. We might disagree about the particulars of various moral codes, but no one behaves as if no such codes exist. When atheists declare God's morality to be invalid, what they invariably mean is, all morality is invalid except mine. Yours is invalid, theirs is invincible. Without God, we still hold on to the idea of virtue, but then redefine it to mean that which I prefer. The godless might not complain when you come to kill the innocent, the defenseless, or the infirmed, but they'll develop the convictions of a street preacher when they find their own lives or property threatened. Our collective obedience to God's morality is the primary factor in determining the fate of the world. God is a morally perfect being with an infinite capacity to punish. People who are not concerned that they might offend such a being will behave very differently from those who are concerned about that. In promising to cancel the threat of future judgment and granting unlimited license to the self, atheism makes the world more dangerous. It removes healthy moral guardrails and declares that if we can do a thing, then we're allowed to do that thing. But God's departure leaves behind a powerful vacuum. Someone must decide which behaviors will be allowed in society. So we seek to promote ourselves into God's former place, to appropriate His authority as our own. But those who don't fear God's judgment, and who have discounted the God-given value of others, will eventually seek to eliminate people they find inconvenient. If they don't, it's not because they've found a kind or selfless corner hiding within atheism, but because they have yet to follow their atheism all the way to its logical ends. A purely selfless act would be the most foolish thing any atheist could do. This makes atheism one of the most dangerous ideas in the world. Is it any wonder atheistic governments were responsible for more than 100 million murders in the 20th century alone? If you rely on your own feelings to tell you right from wrong, then you are keeping company with history's greatest monsters. Ultimately, right and wrong cannot be something we have simply invented, because humans don't have the ability to make an action morally good or bad. Nor can a valid moral code come from nature or science, for the universe judges nothing. Either God's moral code is valid at all times, in all situations, for all people, or no moral codes exist at all. God is the only possible source of valid morality. So here's today's takeaway. Our collective obedience to God's morality is the primary factor determining the fate of the world. God is the only possible source of valid morality. Unchanging standards of right and wrong can never originate from the physical universe. Thanks for watching. If you know any homeschooling parents who might want to inoculate their kids against an atheistic worldview, please consider hitting that share button. They might thank you for it. See you next time.